Everyone, thank you so much for being here. Maddy Martin here for Smith.ai, and I'm really excited to share the program today. If you haven't already been part of this series, this is the Smith.ai Masters webinar series where we invite guests with a range of expertise to talk to business clients and community members of ours at Smith.ai. We are a 24/7 virtual receptionist service, and we offer answering of calls, chats, texts, Facebook messages to help you be more productive, profitable, and professional. So the topic today is leveraging data and automation to grow your law firm. So if you're not an attorney, don't leave, because this is really business analytics fundamentals at its core. So there will be a lot to learn if you are not currently an attorney or working in a law firm. But we're going to explore with Sachin the key growth strategies that can be more easily executed by leveraging data from your existing system. So we'll talk about best practices, we'll talk about key performance indicators, also known as KPIs, that you need to track to run your law firm as a more profitable business. We'll talk about how to free up a substantial number of hours every month that you're spending on business monitoring and management. And then also how to hold your team and outsourced service providers accountable using those KPIs that you have implemented. So without further ado, Sachin, it's great to have you here. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you for having me. My name is Sachin Bakhai. I am the CEO of LawKPIs. And just to give you a quick Reader's Digest version of my background, I have been implementing analytics and ERP systems for Fortune 1000 companies for a very long time. And about 5 years ago, we started to build analytics for mid-market because we realized that mid-market manufacturing and distribution companies have the exact same need as Fortune 1000, but they don't have the budget. So we came up with a solution that fits their budget and their timeline to implement it. So we came up with a packaged analytics solution for manufacturing and distribution. And about a year ago, one of my manufacturing client, his law firm was struggling in understanding the profitability and all the numbers that a law firm should measure. So they introduced us, we built a solution for them, and they loved what we did. So we kind of decided and we started talking to other law firms to see if there is a need for this, or this was like a one-off need by a law firm. And we got tremendous amount of response and interest in, so we kind of invested this and we created LawKPIs. And I had an opportunity to meet with the leadership of Clio and Rocket Matter, and they both loved it. So they both are actually working with us in order to help us improve our product. So we're not lawyers, we don't come from this background, but we understand data really well. And we understand the power of automation. So that is our goal, is basically, if I have access to data, I can pretty much build any KPI that you need in order to measure it. And what we also do is we also, not just, every firm is different. So we actually will work with each firm and build certain custom KPIs that makes more sense for their business, their kind of practice. And especially sometimes, just because their culture is different, we will build certain KPIs based on their culture. So I am very passionate about data. And as I said, you give me data and I will find a matrix that you need to track to help you grow and improve.
Wonderful, Sachin, thank you so much. So go ahead and feel free to share your screen. If
I'm just going to quickly share my screen, and I have certain KPIs that I'm going to share in the slide. And then what I want to do is I want to go and do a live demo, if time permitting, with the actual solution. So this is our vision, right? We want to be able to take data from multiple applications that you would have. And our goal is to give the business owners, right, ability to run their firm as a business. Identify areas where increase the profitability, right? What drives performance? How do you improve utilization for your employees, your attorneys, your paralegals. And this is not just for large firms, even individuals and boutique firms, right? It's extremely important to measure your own performance, right? If you keep targets, you can very easily measure against your targets to see whether are you moving the right direction or not. If not, then you need to make certain adjustments. And that is what we want every business owner to use data to run their business, a law firm as a business. So before we dive deep into it, it's important to understand, what kind of applications do you guys use? So if you don't mind, you can just put it into chat, the different applications that you use, whether it's a Clio or QuickBooks or Lawmatics, anything that you use, if you could just put it into chat, that would be very helpful. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, I see Lawmatics, ClickUp, Clio, QuickBooks, FileWine, Zapier. Perfect. So it is variety of applications that everybody is using, and that actually proves my point, because data lives in multiple different applications. And when we were we interviewed about like 50 plus managing partners and law firm owners, and we consolidated the response, and this is what they said they need. They need real-time ability to measure the performance of the firm. They want to spend less than an hour to manage their firm, because rest of the time they want to focus more on actually helping their clients. They don't want to sit and consolidate data to figure out what they do. So most of the firms were actually looking at data on a quarterly basis or 6 months or annual basis. So we are now encouraging them to actually start looking at their data on a weekly basis. Because if you look at a quarterly basis, you've already lost 3 months. You don't have room to make changes. So it is important to start looking at certain metrics on a weekly basis and on a monthly basis. And during the presentation, we'll go through it, and we'll also show how you can automate this thing so you're not spending hours doing it. The information, we want the information to be fed to you, and rather than you logging into the system and spending hours finding that information. So in our discussion, we found that majority of the challenges, operational challenges that the firms or any businesses were facing was, one, they were not clear on what they should be measuring, because they have few KPIs, few metrics that they measure based on their experience and of years of doing business, but they were not drilling down into finding outliers that's actually going to help them make decisions. So I always talk about that, we want to find KPIs that actually leads to some action. Because if you just have numbers and if it doesn't tell you what action to take, it's kind of very difficult to use those KPIs. A lot of times, the firms were using spreadsheets, and the data in spreadsheets were getting old very quickly. So that is why it is important to be able to automate it so that you can extract data on a daily basis from all your different systems. And you can integrate data and correlate data from different systems like QuickBooks or your legal management system and into one report. So to summarize, what we decided is to come up with a solution that actually takes care of giving you information on a real-time basis. You don't have to spend too much time generating reports. You can reduce the dependency on spreadsheets. And spreadsheets are great. We love spreadsheets. And so all our KPIs, we have given the ability to export into spreadsheets, and if you want to look at spreadsheets. And we want to eliminate data silos, right? Because data sitting in two different systems, it's not very helpful. Even though it has critical information, it's not very helpful. And we don't want business owners or attorneys to learn a new system, because they already use so many different systems and they don't have time to learn a new system. So we've created an extremely easy to use, self-service and fully automated solution that if you know how to use a browser, you can probably use this reporting solution. So after doing a lot of research and talking to several managing partners, we have narrowed it down to this 5 dashboards that every law firm should track. And at the center of everything is profitability. But it's also important to understand, your intake analysis, your utilization and realization, collection and finance is also important to make sure that, there is enough money and the cash flow is always on the positive side. And you can proactively, have your team focus on collections. And lastly, not the least, the marketing ROI, because a lot of firms and businesses, especially in this day and age after the pandemic, everything is online. They've started to spend a lot of money on Google ads and Facebook ads. But how do you know whether those investments in those ads are actually profitable or not, right? What is being generated? What type of cases are being generated? How many free calls are you generating because of that free consultation, and how many free consultation is actually translating into clients? So it is important. So we have narrowed it down to 5 key dashboards that every business or every law firm should have access to. So in profitability dashboard, right, we want them to understand the profitability at the firm level, practice level, employee level, matter level, client level, and even flat fee profitability. Because sometimes, we do a flat fee engagement, but it's very hard to track whether the engagement was profitable or not, right? So by looking at your historical way, the way you have charged for the flat fee, and if it is not profitable, it's an indication that either we need to improve the efficiency on how do we solve that particular matter, or maybe we are not charging enough. Maybe there's room for us to charge higher fees for the flat fee matter. So without data points, it is extremely difficult to understand, whether I'm being profitable or not. Similarly, the utilization dashboard, we want, everybody to be able to look at it. Utilization, if you have multiple offices, right? How is one office doing versus the other office? If you're getting a lot of cases, so I'm in Dallas, and I'm getting a lot of cases from Houston, and maybe looking at that information, there might be an opportunity for me to hire a local attorney in Houston, or maybe open up an office in Houston. So it is extremely important to look at data at an extremely granular level also. The collection and finance dashboard, this is pretty much most of the firms should have it, and they must be looking at it. But sometimes it's also important, if you are a business to business law firm, it's important to identify, who are your top clients and are they paying on time or not, right? So, and all these things, it needs to be automated. So you're not scrambling or spending too much time identifying that information. It should be available to you in a click of a button. And as I said, the marketing ROI is extremely important based on the amount of time and money, every business is spending on marketing. So it's extremely important, right? You can look at your bounce rate to see if the blogs and the content on your website, is it even resonating with your readers or not, right? If it is not, then that's an opportunity to improve your content strategy. So intake analysis, this is something that a lot of clients have asked us, because they have a broken process, and it is very difficult for them to understand where the clients are coming from. So just by putting KPI in place is not going to solve that problem. So we educate a lot of them, and we help them in improving their intake process, where they are capturing the right information at the right time. So a lot of times it's kind of a training also. You need to train your staff in order to make sure that they're capturing all the right information, because that is extremely valuable to understand, where your clients are coming from. What are your referral sources? Where should you invest? What kind of networking is generating results? Because time is the most important assets that we all have, right? So it is extremely important to understand and spend our time where actually we are getting the best returns.
So Sachin, I just wanted to go back to that slide for a second, and I'm interested to hear the answer to the second poll questions, but for everyone who got a sneak peek there. One of the other things that's really important, if you're not at the, maturity level of your firm yet, maybe it's you've just hung your shingle, or, it's a relatively new business if it's not a law firm, it's important that you're tracking this data from day one. Even if you're not using it a ton to make decisions, you'll be able to see the trends over time. So being able to go back and say, how have things changed? What were characteristics of that period is really very valuable for setting benchmarks, targets, how much can you change at once? If you haven't been collecting it, it's very hard to say, there were things that we did with marketing campaigns that had this impact we can go back and look at the very least, try and log this information, try and capture it somewhere, so that even if not right at the moment you have time to look at this, you're preparing your future self for success to do so.
That's an excellent point, and I'm glad you brought it up, because a lot of times our client says, okay, you know what, hey, I want to start fresh. I don't want to load any history. Let's start from 2021. And our answer is no. We want to bring in the history because that's going to tell a lot of stories. Because it's important to look at the trend, and looking at the trends, you can figure out how we want to invest or move forward going in 2021. So on an average, we typically recommend to bring in at least 3 years worth of history if they have it. If not, then as you said, right, start collecting the information now, and it will pay off dividends in the future. So I just wanted to put a second poll question to see which areas of the reporting or the different dashboards that makes more sense for you immediately. How do I get my... How do I get my chat window?
Just on the bottom, I think.
Oh, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Collection, finance, intake, analysis, all of the above. All of them is hard in my case, being a closed API. Okay, I need to talk about the closed API. We can talk offline. Marketing ROI, excellent. Okay, so I'm going to share a few sample reports that are just basically screenshots of our solution, and some of them I want to go back and actually log into the live system and show you how easy it is to use those reports. So this is one sample, is attorney utilization. And every time we talk to our clients or other attorneys, I'm shocked that they're scared about sharing their targets with me. And I don't understand why. Because in my mind, if you don't have a target, it's okay if you don't meet them, but at least how you're falling behind. And they're so scared of giving me the target information that I literally have to force it out of them. But having a target on a monthly basis or on an annual basis at an employee level or practice level is extremely, extremely important, because it's very difficult to identify growth opportunities if you're not measuring up against any target. And sometimes it's difficult. So what I recommend is, just look at your last year's number, add at least 25% to it, and make that the target for 2021. And see how you do. And this is your target, and you can change it anytime. So I recommend to review the target on a quarterly basis, and then we can change the targets as we move forward. If the business is seasonal, you can account for seasonalities in your target, but it's important to have a target and measure your utilization for everybody, including yourself, on a monthly and a quarterly basis. This is the revenue performance dashboard that kind of tells you the billable amount, the billable time, the originator, the collected amount, and all of these reports. You can just click on it, and I'll show it to you in the live demo. You can click on it, and you go into the details. So our goal is to be able to show on the chart the outliers, and once you see the outliers, you click on it and look at the details. That'll tell you enough information on what action that you need to take. And sometimes,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Was there a question, Maddy, or?
There is a question. So one of the questions was, can you customize the KPIs and the display of them so that your staff can view them on a daily or even real-time basis, almost like a dashboard?
Yeah, so all of these reports can be customized, and all of these reports can actually execute on n number of ways. And I'll show it in the demo because we have a lot of filtration criteria that you can look at it. For example, in this report, right now, we are looking at it at the firm level. But if you want to see the performance of a specific attorney, there will be a filter that you just pick the attorney name and you'll see this report for a specific attorney. So if you want to have that report to be emailed to that attorney every week, every month, you can schedule that. So he will not see anybody else's data. He or she will just see their own information. And part of our solution, as I said, every firm is different, right? So part of our solution, we actually will work with you to build 5 custom reports at no additional cost, because we want to make sure that what you get is actually meaningful for you. So we will invest and we will build those custom reports for you at no additional cost. This is another classic example. A lot of people struggle to identify flat fee profitability. And one of the reasons is not many case management systems, they do a good job because everything that they bill goes against non-bill. So we actually recommend that they create a custom field and they capture the allowable hours for that particular matter. And using the allowable hours and the internal rate, we are able to calculate the flat fee for them. So and they can also create a threshold to see, okay, you know what, if my allowable hours are going to go, it's already crossed 80%, I want to be alerted that, I'm very close to exhausting my allowable hours. So it's just very important to make sure that, you take advantage of the customizations and capture additional information in your case management system so that we can come up with better KPIs. This is a classic, like, a year-over-year comparison to see how you were doing and, what you need to do to make changes. In this example, like, we hit COVID, so 2020 was down, but again, towards the end of summer, it started to pick up again. So it's very important to constantly measure your year-over-year. And this is something that you don't need to measure it on a weekly basis, but even if you do it on a monthly or a quarterly basis, the year-over-year, it's a good KPI to measure.
So Sachin, one of the other things there, to consider, if you have a more seasonal or responsive law firm to the demands that generate from different political climates or policies, you may find that there are dips that happen every single year. And if you've been saying it's seasonality, we expect to go down, that might be a time to ramp up marketing campaigns and see if you can even out that growth curve at that point. So, it's an area to pinpoint where the greatest opportunity is for forecasting, where you will maybe want to spend more money and attention at that time.
Right. And for law firms, we don't do this, but Maddy, you bring a great point, because for a lot of our manufacturing and distribution client, we actually do regression analysis and we kind of smooth out the curve for them. So they exactly know ahead of time where the dip is going to come and what they need to do in order to take care of the dip. And a lot of times what they do is they identify their inventory and the stock that has been not turning over. They use that stock and come up with additional promotions during that dip to make it attractive so that the inventory is also moving and the revenue numbers continue to climb. And my goal is to bring the law firms to the level where I have my manufacturing and distribution clients. So, be as sophisticated as any other line of business. So this is the fee allocation report. And a lot of these reports right now that you see are the reports that have been requested by us, by all of our clients. So we want to make sure that we build something for a client, and it's like a peer sourcing, right? So if we build it for a specific client, the way we build it is we will make it available for other clients also. If it makes sense, it will be automatically added to the dashboard. So we want to continue to grow our library of KPIs using peer sourcing. So it's like, multiple minds working in this industry.
Sachin, one other question here. Does LawKPIs integrate with Google and Bing AdWords on the advertising paid acquisition side?
Yes, we can integrate with Google AdWords. Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. So as far as integration is concerned, we can integrate with any application that has an open API. If they have an open API, we can integrate with them. And we continue to add new integrations, part of our as a product roadmap. And I'm happy to share in the end what we already integrate with, but we are always looking for new applications that we want to integrate. So if you have an application that we don't integrate, we will invest and we'll make sure that we integrate with them as long as they have an open API. To give a classic example, like we integrate with QuickBooks Online, but a lot of our clients, they have QuickBooks, the desktop version. So they're working towards migrating to an online version because we cannot integrate with QuickBooks, the desktop version. This is the lead source conversion report that kind of tells you where the leads are coming from, and what is working and what is not working. So for example, in this case, let me just maximize this. In this case, you got about like close to 500 leads from Google, and the hire count was about 40. So you have about like close to 18% conversion rate. There are a lot of cases where you have unassigned. So this is not giving you a lot of information as to where are the leads coming from. So if you click on this report, it will actually tell you all the matters that were classified as unassigned. So this is an opportunity to train the staff to make sure that they start capturing information. So the moment they update the records, it will automatically classify in one of these buckets. But it's important because this is a pretty big size unassigned category, which we don't have intelligence on. So we want to make sure that our intake process captures that information. So this is like, if you do a lot of business to business work, and if you have a lot of contracts with businesses that are about to expire, so like an AR aging, we want to build an aging report so you understand which of your contracts are going to expire when, so you can immediately take action. Similarly, we also have, another one, which is the rate escalation matrix that allows you to identify which contracts are actually due for a rate increase if you have a B2B client. So this information is very important for them, because the client for which we built this, they were struggling and they were spending hours putting this information together, and a lot of times they would miss the window of when they were supposed to actually start negotiating and increase their rates. Maddy, how are we doing on time?
We're doing great. You've got half an hour left, so we've got plenty of time for the demo. Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So this is another KPI, which actually helps you quickly understand which of your matters are actually, fully realized and which are not. Because a lot of times we have seen cases where they've completed the work, but for whatever reason, they have not invoiced the client, or either if they've invoiced it, they have not received the payment. So it's important to keep a tab on what has been, realized, or it's outstanding to realize those.
One of the things, Sachin, here that we saw in the Clio report, if anyone else has read that Clio Legal Trends report from the last few years, a couple of years ago, they actually had a large table of the sort of invoice rate and the realization rate of the revenue, and showed that there's basically a 15% discount or missed payment on average for attorneys. And it actually varied quite a bit by the practice area. So I will, in the sort of follow-up, share that report and where that can be found, but you definitely want to compare to the benchmarks across the country that show, like, based on practice area, how much is getting discounted when it's actually hours on the bill, because that may not be reflective of the actual hours that were worked. And then how much of that, hours billed have been invoiced and then paid. It's as much as, on average, 30% that is lost between those two stages.
Right. And I think that's very valid. And I do remember reading that in the Clio Trends report. So one of our clients actually started using this report, and they were able to significantly bring down their write-off, because a lot of times, they failed the whole collection process and everything, and time has passed, and they would ended up writing it off. So using this report, they are proactively reaching out to their clients and making sure that they reduce their write-offs. This is important. It's matter type conversion. So it is important to understand all the networking, the referrals, where the leads are coming from, and what type of actually cases are being converted. And so, it helps you understand and come up with your marketing strategy to see what is working and what is not working.
So, Sachin, this is actually really interesting, because oftentimes people say that their conversion rate is measured on the appointment to the sort of retained client. And we talk about percentages in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 80s for some firms. And seeing it here may surprise some people, because we're talking about the leads at the source level down to the sort of signed agreement, right? The retention. And right. What's really interesting is to look at it and then go back and look throughout the funnel. Is it the case that the conversion rate drops off very, very early, and you lose 90% of the real estate leads, not at the appointment, but instead because your website talks about all your other practice areas but real estate, right? Like, where is that drop off happening? And how can these reports help you pinpoint where to address those drop-offs? They may differ by practice area, and especially as you move in your growth model from relying really heavily on referrals to probably a more diverse mix of marketing campaigns, it's really important that you have a handle on that before you make a lot of investment.
So this is from actually one of our clients, and to your point, what they did was they actually wanted to grow their real estate practice. They're based in Dallas, and looking at this, since their real estate was not as high as their business or estate planning, they started to put a lot more content, right? Started to write a lot more blogs and articles on real estate, because apparently what they found was that people were not associating them as a real estate firm.
I swear we didn't talk about this ahead of time. Like, that's just, good webinar karma. But that's fascinating. And thank you for validating what I was just guessing at.
So yeah, so data can be used in a lot of different information, a lot of different ways. So it's important that the firm owners, they actually look at data with an open mind. This is wealth of information in data. This is the typical AR aging report that tells you what has been outstanding 30, 60, 90 day. And what we do is for most of our clients, right, we will schedule this report and so that the collection team automatically gets this report on a weekly basis. So they don't have to scramble for information. They know exactly what are the top 10 clients that they need to follow up on for collections. This is good to do the forecast of what has been billed and what has been collected. And you always, the collection, you want to make sure that it's always either equal to or higher than what has been billed. Because in this case, there must be months where they probably didn't collect money and suddenly they got a big paycheck. But this kind of, it's very difficult to have a predictable cash flow. So it is extremely important to make sure that the collection is on top of it so that, you don't run into like cash flow issues. This is a report that we built because one of our clients, they used to show that they have like tons of matters that they have opened, and based on that, they were thinking of hiring more people. But when we went deeper inside into the data, there were so many matters, there are actually no action. Nobody was working on any of those matters, right? So it's important for you to understand which matters are open and which are not. And if they're not, then it's important to start closing them out versus giving you a false impression that there is tons of work in the pipeline. So this was a very critical report for them. I don't know if it's required for every firm or not, but it significantly helped them, and it helps them till date on coming up with their with the hiring strategy. This is another attorney performance report, and a lot of our clients, they use this as a friendly competition between multiple attorneys. This doesn't show the target, but every attorney, you can compare what was your last year versus current year, and you can actually add targets to it to see who is meeting the targets and who is not. This is, a lot of times, obviously, the work is originated by a specific attorney, and because of the skill sets or overload of work, they assign it to somebody else. But so it helps them understand the flow and who has what work, who is busy, who is not. And also, we used a lot of this information in calculating the bonuses for various different attorneys, because every firm has a very complex way in how they want to calculate the bonus when the work is originated by somebody and actually executed by some other attorneys. So all those are not out of the box reports, but we will create custom reports for you in order to calculate the compensation. And once we build it, those reports can be automated. So you don't have to build those reports on a weekly or quarterly basis. They will automate, generate the compensation for you. So I think I can go on and on. Let me stop this presentation, and I would actually like to go and go to the live demo. And so for security reasons, we don't host any of the data. Everything is loaded on Amazon Cloud. And we sync the data from various different applications on a daily basis. So whatever you see is a day-old information. So this is the profitability dashboard that we are working on that gives you the revenue, the cost, the profit, your profitability by a month. So this is a quick glance to see how the firm is doing. You can look at the profitability by attorney, and you can click. This doesn't have a drill down. All our reports can be viewed in data and charts. So if you want to quickly look at the numbers, you can quickly look at the data and charts. There are additional filters that you will see here that you can use to narrow it down further. And anything that you do in our system, and if you feel that, okay, you don't know what parameters you have picked, all you need to do is hit the reset button and it will take it back to default. So there is nothing in our system that anyone can do to mess up the system. So we wanted to make it as user-friendly as possible so that people are not worried or scared about using it. And we don't write anything back to any of the system. So there is no way we can mess up your other systems also. We only read data from your existing system.
So for anyone who doesn't speak API, the sort of like understanding behind that, explanation behind that for Sachin saying they don't write anything is basically there's nothing that's being contributed back into your software. There's nothing being added. The way that like Smith.ai would add a call summary or a contact, we're writing in that case into your system. And in fact, we don't read really from it. But in this case, Sachin's saying they're only reading from it. They're not writing into it. They're not adding to it.
Right. Thank you for clarifying. So all of these reports, like whenever you want in the bill collection, whenever you want, you just click on it and it will drill down and give you the data at the lowest level. So any of our reports, you can open it up to expand into and run it using different filters. All our reports, so you can run it for a specific client to see how the client is being performing. You can run it for a specific matter to see, how much revenue has been generated by that matter year over year, by invoice, by status of whether it's open, closed, pending. You can export all of these into any of these different format. You can print it directly from here. You can email it to other users directly from here. You can pick the format in which you want to email. You have an option to use the current value that you have used in the filtering criteria, or you can use the default value and it'll email the report with the default value. If you have a management meeting or an annual meeting, and if you want to include this reports part of the presentation, you can just copy and paste this link and put it into your PowerPoint. And whenever you click, you will see the live report from your PowerPoint. So you can very easily embed this reports directly into your presentations also. You can create a broadcast for this report. You can send it to multiple users. You can pick the format which you want. You can schedule it on the weekly, monthly, whatever frequency you want to schedule it for. You can also create advanced alerts saying that, okay, you know what, send it to me if my collection amount has dropped or different or greater than whatever it is. You can create those advanced alerts so you're not bombarded with reports in your email. You only see the report when you are actually supposed to take some action. So you can, and this is all self-service, and you can create as many rules as you want on a specific report. If you need, and it is, again, it's self-service, but we are happy to help also if you need to create the schedules.
So Sachin, is there a way to see the weekly emailed reports to staff? Let's say you're managing a team and you want to see what they're sending themselves, what you're sending them. Maybe are they even opening them? Maybe that's too much to ask. But how do you get visibility into the utilization for your team here?
Well, once we have emailed it, we don't have visibility as to understand whether they have actually opened up that email or not.
So what you might do, to the person who just asked that, and anyone else who's wondering, you can use an email tool like Front, and you can actually have visibility as a manager of that tool. It's extremely affordable, and there are others that are out there that give you sort of like email inbox management for your whole team, probably useful in general, but you could see, you know, your staff's open and sort of engagement, response rates, way beyond just like, did they check out that report, but generally how responsive are they in other ways to the emails that are coming to them. And you might just have an accountability sort of meeting once a week to say, share your main takeaway from the reports that you received, and they'll have to pay attention to it in that case.
So we personally use HubSpot to do the exact same thing, because using HubSpot, we can identify the activity, who has opened, who has not. But that we cannot do it within our tool.
Okay, and Sachin, there's a question around, you know, comparison to perhaps other analytics tools like EasyLytics. There are probably others. Do you have anything to sort of speak to that, or is that not?
Yeah, so I'm just going to talk in general, not just for the law product, but in general. There are like 50 plus analytics solution out there, like from Power BI to Domo to Tableau. But these are all tools, and once you procure those tools, you need to create your own data model. You need to create the API to extract the data. You need to create your reports and dashboard. So what we have built, somebody can build it themselves, but they need to have at least like 2 or 3 full-time resources to be able to do it. And you know, it's going to take them at least 6 to 9 months to build it. So what we offer is a packaged analytics solution for them, and we act as an extension of their team, so they don't have to hire resources to do this thing. We build it for them, and they only pay for the subscription.
Okay, I mean, and I will echo, I have used Tableau at other companies where I have worked, and it is extremely expensive, and you do need someone who is very well versed in it. So, you know, there are lighter weight solutions out there than Tableau that is, you know, far on the other side of the spectrum, maybe in terms of intense and expense complexity. But here, really the benefit, and I get this from Smith.ai point of view, we are very much a service-driven company. The speed at which you can move when you have a partner that builds things for you and doesn't just give you the platform to build things on your own, that's really where you start to be able to focus your time on the actionable insights that only you can know when you look at the data.
So we have another feature, and let me just go back, about the accountability. We can actually, let's say if you have a report and if you want your staff member to take some action, you can create a smart task. You can assign it to another employee, and you can set the importance level. So when they log in, they will see the task assigned to them. And you can put in the description, hey, the revenue is low, or you need to go do the collection for this particular client. So you can create a smart task within our solution, but again, we can't track what actions they are taking.
Great.
Any other questions?
I will wait to see if any sort of come through in the chat or Q&A. Not so far, but this is really, really enlightening, Sachin. So thank you so much for the live demo, in addition to those examples you provided earlier. You know, one of the things is, you know, maybe granularity on the marketing ROI side. That was a very common response to the question earlier on what gaps exist in terms of your reporting and intake always.
Right. So, and again, those are the 5 dashboards. Right now, the dashboards that we have created is based on what the law firms have asked us. We are actually in the process of redesigning it and creating those 5 dashboards that I discussed in the presentation, and we're gonna bundle all the reports accordingly. Because right now we were in the learning process to see what actually they care about, and then we did a lot of research on our own to figure out what needs to be, what do actually law firms need to measure. So I think somebody had asked about Google. So this is an integration with Google Analytics. That everything that Google captures on your website, we take that information and we highlight it over here. So this is included part of our solution. We don't charge anything for this because Google captures it. We just take that information and we just present it in a meaningful way for you to understand. And this is more important, like if you have a third-party SEO company, you want to make sure that you looking at this data, whether whatever they're doing, is it working or not working. If you have scheduled goals, to your AdWords and stuff like that, or organic results. So where the referrals or what the traffic is coming from, right? So this is mainly for you to take this information and work with your SEO or your marketing company and come up with your digital marketing strategy.
And for anyone who's looking at this and wondering what the heck are goals, I thought we talked about finances already. Goals can be anything from clicking on a chat widget to filling out a contact form to a number of other things to sign up or engage or schedule an appointment. So things that sort of move towards getting a new client. Or engagement that you want to measure. So basically it's how quality is that traffic.
So this is another dashboard that we have built from the CRM to see the number of matters, the hired, the intake, not hired, what is the conversion rate, where the matters, the referrals are coming from. Let me actually run it for. I'm not sure why this thing is not populating. Maybe I need to run it for a different year. This is a dummy data. So I don't know what year date. Okay, there you go. So this actually tells you the type of conversion. Again, if you click on it, it will give you the details. So this is where you want to go in if you see any outliers, and all of these things can you can change between data and chart, and even you can click on the text to get the details. So we have tried to make this as easy to use and as user friendly to use as possible.
Fantastic.
So if you guys feel that this is helpful and if this is user friendly, please give me a thumbs up on the chat so I know. And any feedback you have on how to improve. Again, as I said, I'm not a lawyer. I come from a heavy technology background, and my goal is to help you guys leverage data and help run your firm the way you're supposed to run a business.
Sachin, I mean, this was a fantastic presentation with all of the examples, really inspirational, I think aspirational also. Can you just really quickly go through, at least currently, what the pricing and plan structure is?
Yeah, the pricing means for the solo attorneys or single user attorneys, it starts at $99 per month. And we have a one-time fee of $295 to integrate with your legal management systems. But in this, we give you 5 custom reports at no additional cost, in addition to all the reports that we have. Plus, whenever we add new report, if it makes sense to your practice, we will add that report at no additional cost for you. And the more number of users you add, the price will go down. Also, what we have seen is we have clients who are like 30 attorney firms, but not all 30 attorneys actually need they do the analysis. So for a 30 attorney firms, they have actually signed up for only 10 user license. So our license is not tied with your legal management system license. You could have 50 of those licenses, but you might only need like 5 or 10 license of LawKPIs. So we will work with you to identify how many licenses you actually need. because every license, you can actually access data for everybody in the system. Also, another important thing I'd like to mention is we have role-based security. So based on who is using it, if you want to restrict certain data, certain dashboards, we can actually restrict it based on the role. We just have to create a different role for them, and we can restrict what they see in the data or the number of reports.
Fantastic. I mean, Sachin, this has been such a great presentation. I think, there is something for everyone here, and I really appreciate you spending the hour with us and just really helping to focus that very daunting task, that feeling that there is a lot of unknown. Where do I start? I think this is really clear where you can be starting. And thank you for even prompting that discussion with those polls. It's really helpful to just self-identify, okay, if I did have to choose among these different topics for reports, which one is top of mind for me right at this moment? If I have to spit it out, that's a very helpful exercise as well. Go back, look at your answers. If you didn't post it in the chat, think about what you would have answered, and maybe have a meeting with your team to really decide, like, if you are going to invest in this, what is the goal that you're setting around it? What is the actionable insight that you're missing, and how does that relate to your business goals? So Sachin, is there anything else that you'd like to share? And please also share how people can get in touch with you.
Yeah, I think the best way for them to get in touch with me is through LawKPIs.com. They can schedule a demo or sign up for a free trial. We can offer free trial, but we will offer free trial using dummy data, because we can't integrate with their data until they become a client. But we will give them access, and full access. So whatever they saw today, they will have access to that environment, and they can they play with it. But if you want, I'm happy to have a one-on-one conversation to understand a little bit more about their firm and identify what makes more sense. Because we have like 50 plus KPIs. You don't need to look at everything, right? You need to look at what makes sense for your firm, and then you need to identify and define the frequency and how often you want to look at the data. And our goal is, most of our clients, they, after couple of months of using it, they narrow it down, and they're able to actually leverage our information and manage their firm with less than an hour a week.
That's incredible, and very sort of a quick turnaround to a new business practice, new processes. So I think everyone's eyes just sort of lit up hearing that. And again, for anyone who's asking, the KPIs that are, Sachin, part of the ecosystem, those are included as they are relevant to your business type, your law firm, whatever it is. And then there's 5 custom, is that right, for the $99?
Yes, so all the standard KPIs are included. For example, if you are a PI firm, right, you don't care about billable hours, because you do everything on contingency basis. So even if I give you the billable hour KPIs, it's not going to make any sense to you. And vice versa, if you don't do contingent work, those contingent KPIs may not make sense. So we do not restrict or nickel and dime on the KPIs. If you have a KPI and if that makes sense to you, we will add it to your dashboard. We're not going to nickel and dime on KPIs.
Wonderful. All right. Well, Sachin, thank you again. I appreciate you for being here and sharing so much with us. I will include your information in the show notes and follow up. So everyone, have a wonderful rest of your day. And thanks for joining us here today. Hope you learned a lot. Take care.
Thank you, Maddy. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Bye now.
Bye.